And here he is, everyone. It's the host with the most. He doesn't have the money, so he has to do the intro voice himself. That's right. Thank you for that, ultra low budget me doing intro voice guy. That's right. Welcome to the Nimble Urban Survivor. I'm your host, Nick Cutelli. Hope you're having a good month, good day, good year, good whatever. We got a good one today. This one comes in from Tiffany. She says, Nick, what is the deal with these movie reviews? I mean, they come out before the movies are made. I don't even like to go see movies anymore because nothing has a good review. What's up with that? You know, that's a good topic. Because how do we survive movie reviews? Because they've gotten very, very aggressive throughout like the decades since movies were created. So let's jump back. I'm not a history professor, so if you fact checked any of this when I'm talking, it's probably all going to be wrong. But I'm just going to say it's kind of going to be more of a guesstimation. So really, I feel like movies were made, I would assume in the 1930s is when they became big, you know, and then the talkies, I forget when they were, you know, created. But there's a lot of, you know, videos and movies of World War II. So I think like after World War II is when the movie industry really boomed, right? But the first movie reviews were going to be more about plays before movies became famous. So, you know, people would go see a show on Broadway, and then the guy would write an article in the newspaper. I think at the time the United States only had probably like maybe 2 or 3 newspapers in circulation. I would assume one of them was the New York Times. And they put a review in, and the reviews really weren't that aggressive. They'd just be like, it was a good show, it was a bad show, this actor was good, this actor was bad, bada boom, bada bing, maybe go see it. And the thing about that is that, you know, a lot of people weren't really that educated, and a lot of people really couldn't read. So, you know, it didn't really have a big effect on your audience because majority of your audience, like, maybe couldn't even read the newspaper. So they'd just go see the show anyway without the influence of the reviewer for the play. Now, let's jump ahead. Let's jump to after World War II, because I historically think that it was after World War II is when the movie industry in Hollywood really took off. You know, we had that golden age with the, you know, big studios and things like that. And they'd make their movies. And those movie reviews were still in the newspaper. There wasn't like movie reviews on TV or anything like that. And you got to remember, the studios at the time had a lot of influence, like organized crime. So all the reviews for their movies were going to be phenomenal. So people were going to see the movies. They were enjoying the movies. The studios were making the movies. It was an amazing time to be a movie reviewer because the studios would probably just pay you to write a good review. I would do that. You know, if you gave me like $1,000, I'd be like, yeah, your movie is pretty good. Go see it. So, you know, the reviews were great. And then we kind of started jumping ahead to the 1950s, 1960s, 1970s. Movie reviews are getting a little bit more honest, a little bit more texture, a little bit more detail. You know, it's not just a cut and dry scenario. People are actually starting to talk about performances of actors. And, you know, should you go see the movie? Should you not? And then, I want to say in the 80s or 90s, I always say like Siskel and Ebert were like the first official TV movie reviewers. You know, a couple of old white guys telling everybody what movies are good and what movies are bad. And it was a simple system. It was like, I think it was like a 3-star or a thumbs up or a thumbs down or whatever. But it was still pretty decent. You know, they would just talk about the movie, and they'd be like, well, this character, you know, he did really good, and I thought his emotions were very timid, but I think the movie's emotional journey was very aggressive, but yet so mature that I'm going to give it a 3 stars out of 3 stars. So if you want to see an emotional, dramatic journey about a love lost with an island, go see Jurassic Park. And so, you know, those movie reviews, they were still pretty timid. I feel like a movie had to be really, really, really bad to get a bad movie review in the 90s. And me personally, I think the 90s was like the best time for movies. You had a lot of, there were no remakes. You had a lot of original scripts, original characters, original stories. It was phenomenal. Now, let's jump to what I like to call the downfall of the movie review. And that has to be when the internet really started to take off. And now a lot of movie reviews are turning into blogs, and they're online. And the thing is now the reviews are just coming from everyday people. It used to be, people were getting paid to go out and watch movies and TV and give them reviews. But now it's kind of like Yelp. The people have the power to give the reviews, which in the beginning, like, it sounds really good because you're like, oh man, who do I trust? Do I trust, this random dude on a TV show telling me what movies to watch? Or do I trust, my neighbors and my friends and, I guess the human race over that? So naturally, people were going more towards listening to society versus listening to like real professional movie reviewers. And it started out good because I used to use it a lot, and I, base it off of, I don't want to say Yelp, but like Yelp-like reviews where I'm hearing what real people thought of the movie versus actual movie reviewers who can sometimes be a little bit, more over-analytic. But then we saw that dynamic, weird change in the mid-2000s where social media was like happy, hey, look at me, it's social media and it's fun and I'm happy, to a political critique shit show of what it is now. Everybody's unhappy, everybody has a problem, or everybody's getting offended by something. And that poured over into the movie reviews. And movie reviews went to, they went from being like, oh, it's a good movie or it's a bad movie, to here's everything I completely hate about this movie, and this is why you shouldn't see it. And the movie reviewers, they were just tearing movies apart. And I blame that on the negativity that social media created when people just started fighting like what you see today. And it poured over into the movie review industry. And it got so bad that, I don't know if you've ever seen on YouTube, there are actual shows on YouTube where literally the guy will just be like, this is 200 Things Wrong with Tim Burton's Batman. And I watched it, and it's like 20 minutes long, and this guy literally just finds everything wrong with the movie, from like the stupidest little thing. Like at one point, like in the beginning of the Tim Burton Batman movie, it's that family and they're like walking from a play across the street. There's a cab in the background, and on top of the cab is like a generic Chinese restaurant sign. And the guy calls that out and says, that's what makes this movie so bad, is because there's a generic Chinese restaurant sign. It's like, dude, that's a set. Who cares about that? But that's the thing now, is the movie reviewers, they're not even like going to see movies to be like, oh my God, I love watching movies. They're going with the intent of, I need to find everything wrong with this movie because that sells versus this is what's good, which is completely like totally messed up. So yeah, if you do get a chance, like check that out. There is a guy, and I think he has a big following, but his literal job is he just watches movies and points out everything that's wrong with them. Even if the color of the paint doesn't match in a room on a set in the background, he calls that out, which I think is a little ludicrous, if you ask me, but to each his own. But that's the problem now, because then it got even worse to where movies were getting reviewed before they even were written in a script, which got really crazy. You'd hear like a rumor that like, oh yeah, we're going to make the new Batman movie. And then everybody's like up in arms about it, but they don't even know what the movie is about. They don't even know who's in it. They don't even know what the story is, but they're already giving it a bad review. And then what happens is people are like scared to death now to make movies because the reviewers, and remember, these aren't professional reviewers. These are just people that might be in their mom and dad's basement or living with their grandma, are just tearing these movies apart before they even get made. So it kind of makes sense when you really think about it, of why we're making all of these like comic book movies and remakes and true stories and things like that, because it's a safe bet. Because it's harder for the reviewer to tear apart, the Green Book versus, Small Soldiers. Which, if you don't know what Small Soldiers is, it's where Tommy Lee Jones was a toy action figure in the 90s. And that was considered a popcorn flick. And if you don't know what a popcorn flick is, it's just a stupid, fun movie where there's no real plot, there's no real emotional depth, there's no soapbox, there's no nothing. It's just a fun movie. And the 90s were just like the boom of the popcorn flick. I love popcorn flicks. Nobody hardly makes popcorn flicks anymore because they're scared to death of getting, torn apart. And that's terrible. So it's funny that these movie reviewers have such an influence over Hollywood and the movies that are getting made today. So what's going to happen if this keeps going on? Well, I mean, it's simple. Number one, I mean, we're just going to get another like 20 Marvel movies and 20 DC movies, and those still get like bad reviews. I know Justice League got torn apart, but what's going to happen is that the whole movie industry is just going to implode on itself, and no one's going to make a movie because they're going to be scared to death to put anything out there because they just don't want to get criticized. Because you remember, if you get criticized, you lose money. Because people will listen to the reviewers before going to see your money. So movies stop getting made. And then the reviewers don't know who to go after. So then they start going after TV. So then, TV goes under because they don't want to make TV shows because they don't want to get torn apart. Then they go after the podcast industry. Probably go after my show, tear it apart. And then there's no entertainment or no media. So then what you have is all of these people on this planet not having anything to watch anymore because everything has been reviewed. And I mean like stuff from like 90s, 80s, 70s, everything going back to the dawn of time has just been torn apart by these evil reviewers that now there's no entertainment. So people don't know what to do, and they're going to get depressed. And then what's going to happen is everybody's going to go see a therapist and get hooked on Prozac or antidepressants, and then those are going to get depleted within a second. So then we're going to have a whole bunch of just angry, grumpy people. And that's going to lead to an all-out, I would say, planet civil war because of all the anger of no, TV or no movies make people go something, something. And there's going to be a lot of death, a lot of destruction, maybe a few nuclear bombs. We're looking at kind of like a Skynet situation here from Terminator. But Skynet is the movie reviewers. Because, if people aren't happy, they're going to start destroying each other. So it's going to send us into an apocalyptic post-entertainment, I guess, atmosphere. So we're going to be living, I would say, the way I look at it, it's going to be like Mad Max. All we're going to have left is just like fast, weird cars, and people will be wearing like hockey pads and, football pads with like spikes coming out of them. And that's what society is. That's the direction we're headed if these movie reviewers keep destroying the movies before they even come out. So just give them a chance. So today's topic, how do we survive the movie reviewers? And the thing is you got to think of it like this, is you almost have to go and make a movie in seclusion, like in hiding. And you can't let the reviewers know anything about it. Because that's the problem, is there's like tons of movie leaks in the United States of America. You got social media, everybody's got a camera on their phone, all that. So the minute you even hint that you're going to make a movie, I mean, the internet and the world will know about it within the next 5 minutes. So I guess this episode is more towards the filmmakers. Because filmmakers, we need you guys to make movies. We need you guys to keep making movies. We can't let the reviewers win. So step one, obviously, is write an original script and keep it on lockdown. You know how like the formula to Coca-Cola is locked in Georgia somewhere, in a big security safe? Or like the formula to I don't know, what is it, 7 herbs and spices or something of KFC? Is it 7? I don't know. It might be 11. I'm not sure. But you got to keep that stuff on lockdown. So whatever your script is, you got to lock it down. Only you can write it. Don't even get another person to come in and write the script. Because remember, the more people you get involved, the more liability you have to, letting the world know about it. So step one is write a movie script. I know that sounds a little bit more difficult than how I stated it, but there's a lot of books and things out there you can go, and the movie can be whatever you want. Do whatever you want. You want to make a comedy, you want to make a drama, you want to make a coming of age story, you want to make a boy who turned into a robot and who ended up winning the Super Bowl. That's a great story there. You can have that one. That's a free idea from me. Just invite me to the movie premiere. So step one, write a script in seclusion, and don't even write it on your computer. I want you to go and get like a typewriter and handwrite it. Because if you put it on a computer, someone could easily steal it and then put it on the internet. Because, I don't trust any of this technology nowadays. Even if you're not even hooked on Wi-Fi, they can still do something to connect to your computer. So you're going to either want to handwrite it with an old-timey utensil called a pencil, or you can go to an antique shop and get a typewriter for probably they're probably just giving those away, and you could just type it out. That's step one. Step two is you're going to want to film your movie, and you're going to want to film the movie in a secluded location on the planet. And I would say, and this is probably good too for finances and tax purposes, I would go find one of those like an Eastern European country that nobody really knows about, that probably could use the economy boost of hiring people to work on your movie. So I would find one of those countries, and they're great countries. The people are very, very nice. And to be honest, I've heard you get a lot of bang for your buck with the dollar bill there. I think one American dollar might equal 5,000 of their, currency. I don't know what rubles or crystals or whatever. So you're going to want to film your movie there. And you're not going to want to hire any people in the United States of America to work on your movie because they're going to leak it. Because if that's one thing I've figured out about Americans is they just don't keep stuff under wraps. They will blab to everyone. Even being Italian, we thought it would work in the mafia that people would keep their mouths shut, but Sammy the Bull proved us all wrong and ratted out one of the greatest men on the planet, John Gotti. Love to you, Gotti. So you're going to want to hire all your production staff in this Eastern European country, whichever one you pick. And they're going to be super grateful for it, too, because they're probably looking for the work and the economy boost. And probably a lot of them don't even have access to the internet or the outside world. I mean, the perfect location, I guess, when I really think about this would be North Korea. But, then you kind of run into that weird dictatorship, evilness. They might have a nuke. They might not. Might not be the best place to film a movie. But going back to it, you're going to want to film your movie in seclusion in one of these Eastern European movies. That's step two. Step three, obviously, I think I just already mentioned it, is you're going to want to hire all the local production staff and the directors in the country. And like I said, you can probably get everybody for dirt cheap because, a dollar there equals 5,000 of their, whatever their currency is. So a movie that would probably cost $4 million to make in the United States of America, in this Eastern European country, probably would only cost you I want to say $200 tops. And that's amazing. Actually, as I even talk about this, I should go film that movie, film a movie myself over there. But, I got to do this show to help save the world, so I can't really do that right now. So, step three, hire the staff locally. Step four, obviously, you're going to want to vet all of them, make sure they don't have access to internet or cell phones or anything, because you don't want this getting leaked out. Right. So then, obviously you're going to film your movie. You're going to have it made there. You might be living in this country for, I don't know, a year, something like that, maybe 6-8 months. I don't know. So I guess the important thing is now is you want to release your movie. And I know what you guys are thinking, because this is, I think step 4 is the movie premiere. Because obviously you want to open up your movie. You want to sell it to maybe Netflix or Hulu or Amazon, or put it up in a theater or whatever. And here's the thing. I know what you guys are thinking. You're scared because you're well, Nick, I made the movie. I want to release the movie, but I'm scared to death of what these reviewers are going to do to it. And that's where I kind of come into, I think this is step 5. This is reiterate your resources. And what that means is you want to give the movie a really good backstory. Okay? Because if the movie has a really good production backstory, the reviewers can't touch it. And I'll tell you what I mean. So if I made a movie in Eastern Europe and hired all these people locally, what I would say is that my movie, Nick Cutelli's production of One Shoe That Fits a Foot, was made in a foreign Eastern European country, a country that was on the brink of going under financially and would have to join the USSR again, but then figured out that, well, that doesn't exist anymore because the Cold War is over. But Nick then took it upon himself to make his movie in that country and invest his $200 movie, which generated millions of their currency and pretty much saved that country from going bankrupt. So you see what I did there? I'm adding more and more layers of, I guess, empathy onto the movie, because you can't hate my movie, because guess what? Now, if you hate my movie, you hate poor Eastern European countries. And nobody wants to get, connected with that. You got to give the movie lots of hidden subtext under meaning. Even if the movie is about, clowns fighting robots while they're riding on top of dinosaurs, people are still going to give it a good review, because if they give it a bad review, they don't want to be marked as, a hater towards, poor Eastern European countries. Yeah, you see what I did there? You gave the movie a lot of meaning, and so they have to love it. I'll give you an analogy of that, okay? So it's kind of like if you have like a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and at Christmas, let's say they give you, you get like a PlayStation 10 or something. I don't know what the new one is, but they give you like the most advanced PlayStation. And it's probably worth, $500 to $1,000, right? And you don't have that kind of money. So you turn around and you go back and you give them a framed copy of the first movie stub from your first date, and see how that has more, I guess, like fake emotional value versus the value of the PlayStation 10. Yeah, so then they can't argue with you. They can't be like, oh my God, I hate this gift. They have to love it because it has so much emotional love. And that's what you want to do with your movie, is you want to give it emotional love and even more backstories. And I think that's going to even come into play, because obviously you're going to play up that it was filmed in a poor Eastern European country, but you also want to focus on some of the people, who made the movie. Like, you would obviously hire a local director, and I don't, know what his name would be, but you would also have to be like, yes, and our director, who was on the verge of hanging himself, was saved by the making of this movie because it gave him purpose again to do the thing that he loved. So you can't hate my movie because it literally saved a man's life. Just like our girl who was on costuming. She was going to sell her 8 kids for just $5. But then she was making so much money working on the movie, she got to keep her children and even move them out of their tent and buy a mansion. So you see what I did there? I'm giving the movie a lot of emotional meaning that has nothing to do with the movie. So if you really focus on the dramatics of the people who made the movie and how you saved all of their life and their country, and you got an award from their president, which I'm pretty sure you probably will get, no one's going to give your movie a bad review. That's the loophole to not getting a bad review for the movie. See, the mistake that people make right now is they try to get a script that's based on a true story, that's based on some sort of soapbox political thing, and a lot of reviewers are afraid to touch that because the story is, you can't go against that story or else you're going to be considered a hater. Whereas people like me will make a movie and it might be a baseball comedy that's really lighthearted, but I focus on the production staff who were, down to their last penny on the brink of extinction, and my movie brought them all back from that. So you can't give my movie a bad review because you're dissing all of these people who worked on it. So you can't be a hater there. And that's the loophole. That's how we get popcorn flicks made again, is you have to have a production staff that has a good story, a good sappy background, empathetic story. Not the movie story, the production staff story, and boom, that's how we save the movie industry and turn the tables on these movie reviewers. And it's a simple 5-step process. I mean, I couldn't have made it as simple as that. Now let's talk about what not to do. Because here's what's going to happen. You're going to make this movie. It's probably going to win an Emmy. No, that's TV. It's probably going to win an Oscar. No, you know what? They probably will give you an Emmy, too, because it'll be so amazing. But then what you need to watch out for is, because Hollywood will do this, is now they're going to want to make like 3 or 4 more of those movies. They're going to make one like a trilogy and then a reboot and then a musical version of it on Broadway. And then they're going to want to make probably like a musical video version of it. And that's not going to be good. And they're going to throw a lot of money at you. And here's the thing. If you take the money and you make those movies, because now they're going to have you make the movies in the United States of America because they want more control. And if you do that, now the reviewers, we're right back to square one. And everything is ended. So I implore you, if you do my 5-step process, do not sell out to Hollywood. And yes, the money is good. You'll probably be able to buy a mansion in Beverly Hills and be a big wig. But eventually, The reviewers are going to just destroy you so much that within a year you'll lose all that money and you'll be back to square one. So don't give in to the money. Don't let the money flood the artistic process of finding a good, sappy, empathetic production crew. And that's it. That's how we can save the future of Hollywood. Because we got to save it, because I need to get cast in something, you know? But guys, that's our time. Thanks for listening today. I know we got a little dramatic, but I think we needed this, you know? It's like a good therapy session where the doctor's like, this was a good session today. I think we needed this, Nick. I think we needed this, listeners. But remember, guys, if you ever want to be a guest on the show, or if you ever have a topic that you want to hear about on the show, feel free to contact me through my website at www.cutellicomedy.com. I know you guys have a lot of amazing, entertaining podcasts out there that you could be listening to, so I really appreciate that you take the time to listen to mine. So, guys, with that, I hope you have a good month, good day, good year, good whatever. Remember, just go out there and watch a movie and just enjoy it. Even if you don't like it, still, I implore you to enjoy it. So, guys, have a good week, and I will talk to you guys later. And remember, survive out there.